Friday nights at 9 p.m., it's time to sit back, relax, and play Conspiracy Bingo with Echoplex Media. We've curated the best conspiracy theorists the internet has to offer and turned it into a live bingo game you can play for free with absolutely no prizes but bragging rights. You won't find a live stream like this anywhere else, and that's probably better for everyone else's mental health. Tune in every Friday at 9 p.m. Pacific at twitch.tv/EchoplexMedia and find our full schedule at echoplexmedia.com.
In the homosexual community, one's called the bottom, the other's called the top.
Not appropriate.
In this world, I'm a cesspool of kindness and ethical blindness. So please excuse my sarcastic tone. I'm a bit underwhelmed by the sample shown. Mr. Bistro fraternity guy, you got my asshole bloodshot eyes. Get drunk and fight every night. Idolize Bradley, belittle women's rights. Homophobic, racist, and don't give a fucking hey. Do you think you can drive a bigger truck? So wear your baseball cap to decide to let everyone know that you're a nice guy. So cool, we're so impressed. Lots of chicks and a barrel chest. Cause you're a real man. Punch for punch, gonna piss in your face while you're passed out drunk. I'm a nice guy, you're a nice guy. He's a nice guy, but all of you are assholes. I'm a nice guy, you're a nice guy. She's a nice guy, but all of you are assholes. Nice guys rule the planet. I just can't understand it. Conquer divine by deception and lies. Social Darwinism and an overdose of pride. Fuck off, jerk off. I don't wanna hear it. Fuck off, jerk off. Read into the lyrics, cause everybody gets their just desserts. As long as you remember that nice guys finish you're next on the list. Such a nice guy who speaks through his fists. Prick with a penchant for messing with heads. A broken nose for dinner and breakfast in bed. Alcoholic, paranoid, and suicidal too. But you'll probably kill her before she gets away from you. She lives in a blue, letting her cry. All your friends say that you're a nice guy. Have a drink, this one's on me. Look, you're doing fine, losing to your disease. Comatose, I'll pack your bags. Bury you in my cat's reading gag. I'm a nice guy, you're a nice guy. We're all nice guys, but all of you are assholes. He's a nice guy, she's a nice guy. Hey, Tom Bone's a nice guy. All of you are assholes. Nice guys rule the planet. The public demented. Put a body by deception and lies. Social Darwinism and an overdose of pride. Fuck off, jerk off. I don't wanna hear it. Fuck off, jerk off. Read into the lyrics. So let the bloody spill quench your thirst. As long as you remember that nice guys finish first.
Wonder what they were going to say there. Anyway, welcome to the Plex. We do the show live every Sunday at 7 p.m. Pacific right here on Twitch, twitch.tv/EchoplexMedia. Also simulcast to other places. So if you're listening to this on the podcast, go ahead and follow us on Twitch. It is a good time 5 or 6 nights a week. Although this week I'm taking a couple nights off. We'll be off Thursday and Saturday this week, I do believe. Anyway, you can support this project on Twitch with bits, subscriptions, all that stuff. But Jeff Bezos sure takes his cut there. Other ways to do it are just hit !tip in the chat or go to streamlabs.com/echoplexmedia. You can directly donate there or just go to echoplexmedia.com, click the support tab. Of course, the merch shop powered by Fourthwall is probably the best way to support us because you get a cool shirt or a cool hat or something like that. Anyway, Producer Dave, you can find me on Grindr. Many have been this week, and this is what the people want.
I don't hate the cops. There's a person inside when the truncheon stops. Oh, don't hate the cops. Oh, when the raiders come, who will protect the shops? Don't hate the cops. They're a sensitive bunch if you don't stop throwing your rocks. Snap, crackle, pop is the sound of a taser. Your body drops. Don't hate the cops. Oh, don't hate the cops. Don't hate the cops. Oh, don't hate the cops. Like your local police, cause they don't do nothing wrong like your local police. Got rid of the corruption and the racism is gone. They've been keeping the peace, keeping homeless folks out of the parks and malls. Got a cure for your social disease. Follow the law, don't hate the cops. 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 Put your hands above your head and show you're not afraid. I'm the fearless judge that your skin color's gonna get. And if you die before the sun comes up, the paperwork will take forever. Well, it might have worked out a little bit better if you didn't hate the cops. Cause they don't do nothing wrong. Don't hate the cops. You can't blame them for just doing their job. Don't hate the cops. Well, you gotta wonder how much would it cost for you to be shot at and stabbed at by maniacs and drunks. Don't hate the cops. 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 Don't hate the cops.
So we got news stories from the last 2 weeks to go over here. So we'll just kind of go lightning round mode on this, but I put a couple silly things up first because I thought it'd be fun to put some silly things up first. Here's what happens when you hire the wrong DJ for your office party. I saw that. I think Ali Drew put that in the chat or in the Discord, and I was like, okay, that's pretty fucking funny. Up next, we got in other DJ fails. Here's another failure by a disc jockey of sorts. Let's see what kind of DJ fail we found here. Check this out.
Please rise for our national anthem.
Open up the safe, bitches got a lot to say.
I wish that first. I don't even know what that song was, but I wish that was our national anthem. That's a lot of fun. All right, up next, it seems like something happened at Bass Pro Shop that I was unaware of. Maybe the rest of you were totally aware of this, and I'm just like out of touch with the world or whatever. But something happened at a Bass Pro Shop, and I didn't go looking for the thing that happened at the Bass Pro Shop. Instead, we're going to go with Blair Erskine's discussion of the matter, because that's always a fun way to learn about news.
Today we took the kids to Bass Pro Shops so they could get their picture made with January 6th Santa. And while we were there, my husband decided to get into the swimming pool. And it is a swimming pool. Aquariums have tops on them. If you don't want us to get in it, you put a top on it, or else it's a swimming pool. It's apparently somebody took a video of it and put it online, and I have been seeing some nasty comments. And I just have to say, if you're at Bass Pro Shop and you see a grown man take off all his clothes and get butt ass naked in the swimming pool, you need to mind your business. If you're looking at his penis, you're a pervert, and you should be looking at God's penis, because yes, God is a man, and yes, he does eat meat. In our house, we like to say he might not have the biggest part, but he does have the biggest heart. His earthly penis might be small, but his spiritual penis, the one he'll have when he gets to heaven, is massive. And it's always inside. And if anybody from Bass Pro Shop is watching this right now, I just want to say we should get our January 6th Santa photos for free. That's the least y'all can do. The least.
I have no idea what happened at Bass Pro Shop, but I feel like Blair's interpretation of it is probably about as good as we're going to need to get. That is so funny. That is so funny. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the actual news. I wish we could, maybe one Sunday we'll go ahead and just find real funny, silly shit and do it all. The whole thing. Maybe if Sunday falls on an April 1st sometime or something. But unfortunately, one Mr. Hunter Biden has been in the news again. And this time, not a bad showing by Hunter Biden, actually. But first, here's, as is tradition, I suppose, here's Marge just showing more pictures of Hunter Biden.
And it's marked
Mr.
out.
Chairman, point of parliamentary
showing proof of Mann Act violations. Democrats should not be offended by pictures that black out.
Have I been recognized?
They should be.
I mean, that rectangle kind of big.
I have a point of parliamentary inquiry.
Trafficking.
Mr. Chairman,
state your point.
Thank you kindly, Mr. Chairman.
That's not trafficking.
On July 26th, I sent you a letter about the last time this happened, when the gentlelady introduced before this committee, without any notice to anyone, nude photos, pornographic images that were completely irrelevant to the purpose of the hearing itself. And my question to you is, are members allowed to simply put up sensationalistic, voyeuristic, pornographic images if they're not relevant to the actual object of the legislative proceeding? I want a parliamentary ruling on that.
Mr. Askin, that's probably part of the questioning for Mr. Biden, violations of the Mann Act. Ms. Green's led on that issue.
No, this is a question about the rules of the committee.
These pictures have already been entered into the record.
So in other words, you have accepted the idea that members can introduce irrelevant, sexually based, voyeuristic.
How is this irrelevant?
Well, how does it relate to Joe Biden?
How does it relate to...
We're not doing a criminal investigation of Hunter Biden.
We've
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. Point of order.
Testified in the FBI.
What a shit show. God, what a shit show. Somebody in chat asked about revenge porn, and I think that members of Congress actually have a lot of like indemnification and leeway to where they cannot be like civilly prosecuted for the things they do on the House floor and whatnot. I think they have some protections there. So, that's great. During this, Trump and Epstein comes up during this. Fantastic.
That now it doesn't work. You come up here and talk about Hunter Biden's behavior, and you're so disgusted. But the guy that you all kneel to, associates himself with a pedophile. But remember, I get
Mr.
it.
Chairman,
Mr.
Chairman, that should be stricken. I ask his words taken down.
A statement of a fact, and it's his time.
It's a fact.
I ask his words to be taken down.
Okay, there's a motion to strike the words.
Yeah.
Yes.
On what grounds? On what grounds?
To say that we associate with pedophiles.
No. He didn't say that you do. He said that your dude does. And your dude's name appeared 3 times in the recent documents that were released. Sorry. None of us made that happen.
Donald Trump.
No, I said Donald Trump
just said that we all kneel. I kneel to Christ.
I stand for the flag.
Support.
And I kneel for the cross.
I'll change my word to support.
Mr. Ranking Member, you might look to the library.
Fair point. No, okay.
That your people support.
So you're referring to the kneel down. Donald Trump said that
I moved for his words to be taken down.
And I think he withdrew
it's
that.
A motion.
I withdraw my.
He withdrew it. He withdrew that. That'll be taken from
we have to accept him withdrawing it.
All right. Everybody good? That's going to be taken from the record.
Okay. I withdraw.
I mean, but it's on. The Twitter is forever.
Very much support. We okay with that? No snowflakes offended? Okay, wonderful. Anyway.
Oh, what a nightmare. I'm fucking here for it. We usually don't cover a lot of the comings and goings of the House of Representatives, but this we're here for it. Here we go. Here's the juicy part here. Here's when Marjorie the Gathering was about to speak, and then Hunter Biden and his lawyer are just like, bye.
Gentlemen, time's expired. Chair recognizes Ms. Green from Georgia for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Excuse me, Hunter. Apparently you're afraid of my words.
Whoa! Oh.
I'd like to reclaim my time, Mr. Chairman.
Reclaim your time from what?
Wow, that's too bad.
You only get to reclaim your time if somebody interrupts you or whatever. Just getting up and walking out didn't interrupt. You reclaim what time? That's fantastic. So here's what they walked out to do. Actually, they walked out to give a bit of a press conference right in the middle of what Marge was saying here.
Mr. Biden. Let me start again. Hunter Biden was and is a private citizen. Despite this, Republicans have sought to use him as a surrogate to attack his father. And despite their improper partisan motives, on 6 different occasions since February of 2023, we have offered to work with the House committees to see what and how relevant information to any legitimate inquiry could be provided. Our first 5 offers were ignored, and then in November, they issued a subpoena for a behind-closed-doors deposition, a tactic that the Republicans have repeatedly misused in their political crusade to selectively leak and mischaracterize what witnesses have said. What are you going to do when the House... Last fall, Chairman Comer made an explicit offer that people like Hunter and had, like him, the option to attend a deposition or a public hearing, whichever they chose. Hunter chose a hearing where Republicans could not distort, manipulate, or misuse that testimony. Honoring and then ignoring that invitation and proving once again that they cared little about the truth and wanted only to, quote, move the needle of political support, which was a quote Chairman Comer confessed was his true purpose. The Republican chairs today, then, are commandeering an unprecedented resolution to hold someone in contempt who has offered to publicly answer all their proper questions. The question there is, what are they afraid of? Thank you.
This is a pretty good, I don't know, maybe Hunter should be running for president. Fuck it. Like, he's like not afraid to fucking play the game that they're playing. He's like, oh, you want to question me in private? Well, I'll suggest we do it in public. Oh, and I'll come to your hearing actually about it. But then I'll leave when the crazy lady talks. And I'll take the press with me and we'll go outside and make a statement. Fucking not bad. Not bad. A little trollish, but I've never really judged people for that. Kind of known maybe for being a bit of a troll myself. So, not bad. Not fucking bad. Here's Marjorie the Gathering on the Eric Bolling show to complain that the Hunter walked out when she was going to try to say some dumb shit.
I can't do anything to stop him there, but I'll tell you right now, this is a real slap in the American people's face. And
just yours.
It's shocking to watch the president's son, Hunter Biden, who thinks he's above the law, to come in there like that and then refuse to hear me speak to him. And I had a lot to say, Eric.
Oh, he was there. He listened to everyone else. And then when I went to speak, he was like, nah, bye. They planned to do that. They had to have planned to do that. That was fucking, I'm sorry. That was pretty smart. That was pretty smart because that lady crazy. Lady's out of her fucking mind. So here's Katie Porter, Representative Katie Porter, going to sum up some of the events that we just witnessed clips from.
So that Americans who love this country and just want a better future don't have to listen to hours of frustrating attacks and procedural debates in a partisan game, let me sum it up. 1, there is zero evidence of President Biden doing anything wrong, including in connection with his son. No evidence of an impeachable offense, not a little, not something, none. 2, Hunter Biden has offered to testify in public in front of this committee. If Republicans only want his secret, private testimony, that is, as the kids say these days, sus. If my Republican colleagues are truly in this to get answers, and I hope they are, stop wasting all our time on holding Hunter Biden in contempt on a deposition and ask him your questions. He'll be here under oath, and the American people can watch. What's more transparent than that? What's better accountability than letting the American people hear Hunter Biden's answers? That's real accountability, not political gamesmanship behind closed doors. This is a game where nobody wins and everybody loses.
That's the only thing I disagree with so far. So far, what we've seen is Hunter Biden just won.
It is Washington at its worst. And I'll tell it like it is without pointing the finger at either party. This sucks.
Fuck yeah. I mean, I actually don't think it sucks. I'm rather enjoying this. But I mean, if you're up there trying to do your fucking job and shit, yeah, it's probably pretty frustrating, right? If you're like, well, I actually have like a big stack of stuff that I'd like to work on. It's sort of my job. And not for nothing, she's representing Orange County, which is a very slim Democrat majority now. So she has to be able to come back to those people and tell them that she delivered and that she did her job. And if the House of Representatives is in chaos, she's likely to lose just because of the chaos. It's something just that little could flip Orange County back. So even Fox and Friends is like, what the fuck is going on? If you've lost the dumb fucking people at Fox and Friends, you've lost America.
It is unclear at this point on Capitol Hill if the Republicans actually have enough votes to, if they bring it up for a vote, if it would pass, because the Republicans in the House are in such disarray. The Speaker of the House is hanging onto his job by a thread.
2 votes, right?
Well,
again,
it just takes 1 for a motion to vacate. That's what happened to Kevin McCarthy.
Yeah.
I was hearing
Please
some people
say they're not going to go down that route again.
They might.
It looks
Chip
like
Roy says they might.
It could happen before February 1st. So the Republicans.
They're competing with Shasta County. They're going to see if they can get more speakers of the House in any given period of time than Shasta County has county attorneys.
May not have the vote, even though they had the big chaotic circus yesterday.
Can they change that rule, the motion to vacate?
They didn't.
This is crazy. Why would they do that? We're in a presidential year.
They just want to make sure they're not in the majority next election.
Especially they're working on it hard.
Damn, even when Brian Kilmeade is like, they just want to make sure they lose. Brian Kilmeade, I think he's dumber than Steve Doocy. I think Brian Kilmeade is potentially the dumbest person at Fox News. And he was like, he's even like, well, I'm going to throw shade too. He's like, fuck it. So this is great. This is a News Nation. It's sort of kind of a newish, sort of centrist-y cable channel, kind of into aliens a little bit. But they're going to ask James Comer if the Republicans just got played by Hunter Biden.
With us now, James Comer, chairman of the House Oversight Committee. You've had a long day, sir. We appreciate you making it out of committee and here to talk to us. Fair to say, I think things didn't go as planned. Did you guys get played?
No, I think that the American people saw the arrogance and entitlement of the president's son. Look, we've been very transparent with this administration.
I don't know. He's just like, bye.
We've published 4 bank memorandums. We've talked about and demonstrated mountains of evidence with respect to the fact that the Bidens have received millions and millions of dollars from our enemies around the world.
You haven't.
We don't know what they did to receive the money. They don't own hotels. They don't own real estate. They don't own legitimate businesses. They don't provide services.
Wait a minute.
They don't manufacture anything. What exactly did they do to receive the money? The president's son refuses to come in and answer questions.
No. That's not true. He was like, I would like to answer questions publicly so that everyone can hear my answers, which is a pretty strong move, actually. Because if you had anything to hide, you'd want the hearings behind closed doors, so that you could then lie sort of about what you said or whatever, you know?
It's more than welcome to show up for a committee hearing after a deposition. Every investigation, whether
he was already there,
investigation or whether it's an investigation by local and law enforcement, they bring people in for depositions at the end of the investigations. We have all these questions about specific bank transactions, significant amounts of money that came from Russia.
Sir, you're not the Department of Justice.
Uzbekistan, Ukraine, Romania, to the Biden family that was then dispersed through different fake companies and ended up in the personal bank accounts of 10 different Biden family members. The American people want to know, what did the Bidens do? And today, we held Hunter Biden in contempt of Congress. He showed up. You heard Moskowitz. You played...
You held him in contempt for not showing up, but he was there. Like, do you know how stupid you look?
Hunter Biden's here to answer questions. 2 minutes later, his time expired, and I recognized Marjorie Taylor Greene. She was going to ask him questions. He ran out of there. So, in my opinion, the Bidens are the ones that got played today.
Well,
but he was sitting in the audience. He was sitting in the audience. He wasn't sitting. Like, come on, dude.
Questions. Does that mean that you all would accept and hold a hearing for Hunter and allow him to testify publicly?
After the deposition, he can. After the deposition,
but you just said Marjorie Taylor Greene was going to ask him questions.
Hunter. Yeah.
So he
wasn't supposed to be there.
If he'll come back,
well, he wasn't supposed to be there. But like, this guy's. Come on, dude. You really suck at this. Marge was there. Marjorie the Gathering was going to ask questions, but also like nobody knew who was going to be there. So, I mean, which is it?
Questions.
Yeah, in a deposition. He will come back and answer questions in a deposition. And then he can have a public hearing. Marjorie Taylor Greene will get 5 minutes. Dan Goldman will get 5 minutes. Then Pat Fallon will get 5 minutes, and we'll go down the aisle. But right now, it's very important that you realize that Hunter Biden doesn't make the rules. And when Democrats were in control, they didn't let people say, oh, we'll only come if it's a hearing. They made them sit for depositions first. We're doing Hunter Biden the exact same way.
A lot of your people refuse to show up at all for any of it.
Have been involved in congressional investigations, have been treated in the past.
Look, that's a perfectly fair point, and you make a fair analysis that that's how things have been done in the past. Let's just stipulate for a moment that Hunter Biden did some really bad things, and I'm not talking about the drugs and the sex and the women. As you point out,
guys, I love all those things. He's like, everybody loves that about Hunter Biden.
At the very least, he sold out America and tried to peddle his father's name and got money from America's enemies, specifically China. And you think about the people he was taking money from in Russia. These are not good people. So that is stipulated. I guess what I'm trying to figure out, and look, I'm just a guy from the Midwest. I'm not political, but I'm thinking about the optics here, not exactly.
What is political? Is not political when from Midwest?
About. He comes to the hearing, and he gets screamed at. He gets called names. He gets insulted. I'm not talking about partisans. I'm talking about independent voters who just watched and heard the commotion of today. Some have called it a circus. Is there any chance that you're making people, and I know this is hard to imagine, but making people feel bad for Hunter Biden?
Nobody felt bad for Hunter Biden.
No, I don't think so. Only liberals that are obsessed with Trump. Look, at the end of the day, we have a simple question. What did you do to receive the millions of dollars from our enemies around the world?
Great, ask him that in fucking public. I don't see like when people refused subpoenas when the Democrats were in charge of the House. If the people would have said, I'd actually rather do this testimony public, I think that when the Democrats were in charge, they'd have been like, all right.
You can answer that question, we'll pretty much be done with him. But we have specific transactions. Look, this individual hasn't been truthful. There's a reason he's indicted in 2 federal courts right now. There's a reason he's on a plane back to California right now for a hearing tomorrow in front of a federal judge. He's been in trouble. He's in trouble with the IRS, with the FBI, with the Department of Justice, with the House Oversight Committee, with the House Judiciary Committee. This is a guy that's made a lot of mistakes. We're investigating his father. We're trying to determine whether or not Joe Biden is compromised because of the millions of dollars his family's received from our enemies around the world. We have specific questions. They said he came there to answer questions today. The first question he had, he bolted out of there. So, I mean, they can try to create a narrative that he was there to answer questions, but when someone attempted to ask him a question, he left.
Okay, but I'm trying to understand. Marjorie Taylor Greene was trying to ask him a question, you say, but that was in a public hearing. But you're saying you're not going to ask him any questions in a public hearing, only privately.
Even this dumbass news anchor is like, wait a minute.
Answer questions publicly. I'm just trying to figure it out.
No. After the deposition,
he's like, no, you know, I'm not going to let you figure this out.
Back whenever he wants. After the deposition, that's been the deal from day one.
Even the dumbass news anchor, as someone in the chat called it, the land of News Nation, the land of misfit anchors, was like, wait a minute. You said that he can't answer, you shouldn't answer questions publicly until after the private deposition. But then, like, you think he should have stayed to answer Marjorie the Gathering's question. This is amazing. I fucking love this. Anyway, that's the end of our Hunter Biden coverage. It looks like Hunter Biden is in the lead, winning the battle of narratives, as they might say. Seems like Roger Stone seems to have done an oopsie, or several oopsies.
Either Strawwell or Nadler has to die before the election. They need to get the message.
I'm Diana Falzone, senior media reporter for Mediaite.com. Now, earlier this week, I published a piece for Mediaite about longtime Trump ally Roger Stone talking about assassinating 2 members of Congress. Roger Stone spoke with Cop Pal about assassinating Eric Swalwell and Jerry Nadler. In the story, I reported that Stone was caught on tape discussing the prospect of assassinating the 2 House Democrats with an associate named Sal Greco, a now former NYPD cop who worked for Stone on the side. Now, since the story was published, Stone has vehemently challenged our reporting, writing in a post on social media, quote, "I never spoke about assassinating anyone. Fake Mediaite can't produce the recording they claim to have." Well, we do indeed have the recording.
Oh, he's like, they can't produce it. She's like, eh. She's like, put me in a wooden room. Let's fuck around.
And we're going to play it for you now. Before we do, a quick note that this audio has been lightly edited to protect the identity of our source. But here is Roger Stone speaking to his associate Sal Greco at Cafe Europa in Fort Lauderdale weeks before the 2020 election.
Otherwise, this will one day be known as Exhibit B.
Europa in Fort Lauderdale weeks before the 2020 election.
Be a piece there, and go find Swalwell and get this over with. It's time to do it now. Then we'll see how brave the rest of them are. Either Strawwell or Nadler has to die before the election. They need to get the message. Again, just not putting up with this again.
Our source told us that this was not a one-off conversation, nor was it in jest. Our source told us Stone was talking about taking specific actions on these plans. Quote, "Roger spent election day and the months prior calling for acts of violence. It was definitely concerning that he was constantly planning violence with an NYPD officer and other militia groups." In addition to his social media post, Stone denied ever making these comments in a statement to Mediaite prior to our publishing the story. He told us, quote, "Total nonsense. I've never said anything of the kind, more AI manipulation. You asked me to respond to audios that you don't let me hear and you don't identify a source for. Absurd." However, his associate Sal Greco did not deny the comments, telling us, quote, "I don't think your reader is interested in ancient political fodder. It's worth noting that this isn't the first time Stone has made the claim that his comments were deep fakes. He made the same claim about his remarks in the documentary A Storm Foretold, in which he was caught on tape talking about violence.
I said Lord, let's get right to the violence.
Also worth pointing out here that Stone has a history with Congressman Swalwell and Nadler, both of whom served on the House Judiciary Committee. Stone was convicted of federal crimes in Special Counsel Robert Mueller's Russia investigation. His sentence was commuted by then-President Donald Trump just days before he was set to report to prison. Nadler subsequently announced the Judiciary Committee would look into why Stone's sentence was commuted. So certainly, Nadler and Swalwell were on Roger Stone's radar. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more coverage of this story and the latest.
So that's a bad move, being like, oh, you're not going to produce the thing. And they're not going to, I mean, it seems like he was trying to convince someone to help him like off a couple representatives. So maybe they're like, we're not going to tell you who the source is just based on, the thing we're reporting on here, because we don't want this source to end up having any harm come to them. And not just that Stone might have them killed, but just that fucking crazy people will start harassing whoever the source of this was. It's interesting. The guy that he was talking to said, oh, this is just old political stuff. And I think the reason he didn't deny it is because his voice doesn't appear to be on there conspiring to do anything. If this goes to court or whatever, he could just be like, I was actually kind of fucking shocked at what I was hearing. I didn't know if he was kidding or whatever. And he's like, I just kind of kept my mouth shut. That'd be the smart play, but these people are idiots. In other news about very smart people and legal issues, here's Rudy Giuliani's attorney. Oh my fucking God. This guy is he's up for an award, I swear.
Understand the argument. It's that is the concern simply other states could prosecute your client for the same predicate act?
Yes, Judge. And for instance, arguably Georgia, you can't be sentenced for the RICO and the predicate act, but in Florida you can. There's just
sure
Georgia.
But how does that become a double jeopardy issue if all the states are separate sovereigns? I mean, couldn't he be convicted in every single state, all 50 states, if there was an issue, without any double jeopardy concerns whatsoever?
You may have a point, Judge. I mean, there may be something.
You may have a point, Judge.
All right, well, that's something to focus on in briefing.
Oh, actually, you may have a point. Oh, shit. If only I would have known that the judge has some knowledge of the law. Well, fuck. Fucking amazing. Anyway, up next is the House of Representatives, the rep from the U.S. Virgin Islands. Her name is Stacey Plaskett, and here's her breakdown just of what the former president has sort of promised to do if elected.
In the past few months, Trump has said that he would reinstate the Muslim travel ban. In fact, his exact words were, "When I return to office, the travel ban is coming back even bigger than before and stronger than before." He has vowed to use the Department of Justice to investigate his political enemies. He has said that those who oppose him should be executed for treason. He has called his political opponents cockroaches, vermin, said that immigrants are poisoning American society. He has promised to use the Insurrection Act to mobilize the military against any protesters who speak out against him if he wins re-election. Those do not resonate as plans of a democratic leader. They sound like a dictator. Many want to shield a man who, as many experts have identified, as spouting rhetoric cribbed from Nazi regime, calling his enemies cockroaches and vermin, saying that those who oppose him are poisoning the blood of America, and even calling for the execution of people who simply speak out against him. For 4 years, this man implemented loyalty tests, called for violence against his opponents, pardoned his friends, tried to illegally keep people out of the country because of their religious beliefs. He shoved children in cages, tried to illegally deploy the United States military to put down peaceful Black Lives Matter protests and systematically dismantle the civil rights protections afforded to all Americans. And if he comes back, that will just be the start.
Yep. It was from November, but it was important kind of to bring this back up. There's more of that, but you can grab it from the show notes. Some people kind of like these ideas, actually. Here's Lauren Witzke, and I don't know what the hell her co-host's name is. They actually kind of like this stuff, if you could imagine that.
There are people paying attention to some of the things that are being threatened. And threatened as in, like, we're aware of crimes. A lot of our compadres are aware of crimes. So people on the other side are really starting to wonder what happens if they do indeed take back control of the country. Well, Rachel Maddow believes that not only are we going to prosecute everybody on that side of the aisle, but there are going to be executions. She said this.
Let's go. I mean, after they stand before a fair trial, then, the judgment will be swift and it will be just.
Well, let's just execute people for unnamed crimes because we don't like them. Fantastic. Up next, we got a couple clips from the former guy. I promise not too many. Here is this is just a pure class, actually, from the former guy here talking about the current president, Joe Biden, and a recent speech.
That's why Crooked Joe is staging his pathetic fear-mongering campaign event in Pennsylvania today. Did you see him? He was stuttering through the whole thing. He's going he's a threat to democracy. They've weaponized government. He's saying, I'm a threat to democracy. He's a threat to democracy. Well, okay. Couldn't read the word. He's a threat to democracy. You know how bad the press is? You know what they do? They take me saying that like that, and they say, Trump couldn't say the word democracy. Look. No, that's what they do.
That's funny that they just ended it right there too. That the fucking people clipping it were like, I mean, we give you what you want, asshole. I kind of love it when in these clips he mentions what he thinks the press is going to do, and then somebody just clips it out, sort of in that way. Anyway, here's the former guy talking about the Civil War. People on that side of the aisle have done just gangbusters lately talking about the Civil War, and here's Trump.
I love studying if you take a look, the wars, I don't know what it is. The Civil War was so fascinating, so horrible. It was so horrible, but so fascinating. It was, I don't know, it was just different. I just find it, I'm so attracted to seeing it. So many mistakes were made. See, there was something I think could have been negotiated, to be honest with you. I think you could have negotiated that. All the people died. So many people died. That was the disaster. If you got hit by a bullet in the leg, you were essentially going to die or lose the leg. That's why you had so many people, no legs, no arms. If you got hit in the arm or the leg, it meant you were up because the infection, gangrene. It was just such a, sort of a horrible time. But I was thinking to myself, because I was reading something, and I said, this is something that could have been negotiated. It was just for all those people to die, and they died viciously. That was a vicious, vicious war. And in many ways, look, they're all nothing nice about it. But boy, that was a tough one for our country. But I think it's, Abraham Lincoln. Of course, if he negotiated it, you probably wouldn't even know who Abraham Lincoln was.
Wait, what? There wasn't much. I think my understanding is that there were attempts at negotiations.
But he would have been president. He wouldn't have been the Abraham Lincoln. Would have been different, but that would have been okay. It would have been a thing that, and I know.
What are you talking about? Process. He was in the last clip making fun of the way the other guy talks. What did he used to fucking? I don't know. Maybe it would have been different. I don't know. Abraham Lincoln. You wouldn't know. This guy's just fucking word salad.
They went through and they just couldn't get along, and that would have been something that could have been negotiated, and they wouldn't have had that problem. But it was a hell of a time.
So the problem with that is if Biden was to try to make fun of that, that's impossible to make fun of, right? Like you cannot parody that. It's just beyond parody. That's that Poe's Law shit, right? Where trying to make fun of that is pretty impossible. So apparently, not only do we need a wall, we also need a dome. Not like the dome that the flat earthers believe in, not the firmament or whatever, but we need a dome.
World, we want to protect our country. And you know, those domes are starting to work. I didn't like it when Ronald Reagan suggested it because we didn't have the technology. We do have the technology now. And we're going to build a giant dome over our country to protect us from a hostile source. And I think it's a great thing. And it's going to all be made in the United States. And
no, it's not.
That's something that I consider productive. You know, when I watch
where the fuck are you going to get the computers to run it on?
It's unbelievable. Missile coming in. These geniuses sit down. Most of them are, you know, they're from MIT, but they sit down, bing, 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 boom, it's gone. It's amazing.
But
I think we could use it. Do you like that? Yes. I mean, isn't that better than giving other countries billions of dollars, billions? We're going to
what? I don't know what he's talking about. First of all, there's no way that all of the electronics for such a system would be manufactured in the United States. We don't have the supply chain for it. We don't have the talent base for it. We don't have the manufacturing facilities for it. And even if like the fucking gun part of it was built in-house, a computer has to run it, and there ain't no fucking computers being built in the United States either. And even if the computer's being assembled in the United States, there ain't no circuit boards and shit. It's all from fucking, dude, get the fuck out of here. Now we're gonna, this one's good. We got a judge asked a Trump attorney a question about presidential immunity, and this isn't great. This doesn't seem to go so well here.
Order SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival. That's an official act in order to SEAL Team 6.
He would have to be and would speedily be, impeached and convicted before the criminal prosecution.
What if he weren't? There would be no criminal prosecution, no criminal liability for that.
Chief Justice's opinion in Marbury against Madison and our Constitutional tradition and the plain language of the impeachment judgment clause all clearly presuppose that what the founders were concerned about was not.
I asked you a yes or no question. Could a president who ordered SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival who was not impeached, would he be subject to criminal prosecution?
If he were impeached and convicted first. And
so your answer is
no. My answer is qualified yes. There's a political process that would have to occur under the structure of our Constitution, which would require impeachment and conviction by the Senate. In these exceptional cases, as the OLC memo itself points out from the Department of Justice, you'd expect a speedy impeachment and conviction. But what the founders were much more worried about than using criminal prosecution to discipline presidents was what James Madison calls in Federalist Number 47, the newfangled and artificial treasons. They were much more concerned about the abuse of the criminal process for political purposes to disable the presidency from factions and political opponents. And of course, that's exactly what we see in this case.
I've asked you a series of hypotheticals about criminal actions that could be taken by a president and could be considered official acts. And I've asked you, would such a president be subject to criminal prosecution if he's not impeached or convicted? And your answer, your yes or no answer is no.
I believe I said qualified yes if he's impeached and convicted first. We may be saying the same thing.
My question was, okay, so he's not impeached or convicted. Let's put that aside. You're saying a president could sell pardons, could sell military secrets, could order SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival.
Sale of military secrets strikes me as something that might not be held to be an official act. The sale of pardons is something that's come up historically and was not prosecuted.
But your brief says that communicating with an executive branch agency is an official act. And communicating with a foreign government is an official act. That's what presidents do.
They're very strong situations. Those are very strong examples of potential official acts. If you look at what Chief Justice Mitchell said against Madison, he said, rising directly under Article 2, Section 1, that the courts, that the president's official acts are, quote, never examinable by the courts. And he says it like 4 different times on pages 164 to 166.
Well, let me ask you about that then, counsel, because your position is, as I understand it, if a president is impeached and convicted by Congress, then he is subject to criminal prosecution, correct?
Yeah, be it necessary, said to prosecution.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay, so therefore he's not completely and absolutely immune, because under the procedure that you concede, he can be prosecuted if there's an impeachment and conviction by the Senate.
Very, very formidable structural check against the astonishing radical action of prosecuting a former president with official acts.
Correct, but you're conceding that presidents can be criminally prosecuted under certain circumstances.
Specifically, if they're impeached and convicted, I think that's the plain language of the impeachment judgment clause.
And isn't that also a concession that a president can be criminally prosecuted for an official act? Because presidents can be impeached for official acts.
Under those unique circumstances.
Correct. But given that you're conceding that presidents can be criminally prosecuted under certain circumstances, doesn't that narrow the issues before us to can a president be impeached? Can a president be prosecuted without first being impeached and convicted? All of your other arguments seem to fall away. Your separation of powers arguments fall away. Your policy arguments fall away if you concede that a president can be criminally prosecuted under some circumstances.
I disagree with that. The Constitution in the Article 2 Section 1 vesting clause, as interpreted very clearly by Chief Justice Marshall and Marbury against Madison, says Article 3.
So this is great. This is this is great. I mean, I can the judges, at least though the one who was doing most of the talking there, is pretty inclined to rule that the prosecution can go forward here. So my understanding, and I could just be wrong here too, and honestly, like maybe everybody's wrong because this hasn't been tested in any sort of meaningful way yet. Well, I think once they're out of office, if they did a bunch of crime while they were the president, they can get fucking prosecuted for it. I think the idea is that the Justice Department can't go after a sitting president, although I think that's dumb too. I just think that's sort of the idea. Up next, we got New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu, who has endorsed Nikki Haley on whether or not he might vote for Donald Trump if he is the Republican nominee, even if he is convicted of crimes.
I think both of the candidates on stage tonight were unable to answer that question with a yes or a no.
Well, I don't think it's that they're unable. I think that the candidates spend their time talking about what they're going to deliver, right? They're not going to spend all their time just trying to, do the Trump question and all that sort of thing. I know that gets kind of the headlines, but they're there to earn the trust and the votes, specifically of the Iowa voters. It's effectively a neck and neck race. I know DeSantis has said he's going to win Iowa. Trump says he's going to win Iowa. They've both set very high expectations.
Trump's going to win Iowa. DeSantis is not going to win anything. DeSantis will drop out, maybe not after Iowa, but not long after Iowa.
Not quite the expectations on Haley's side, but she's obviously doing incredibly well because she's just still getting out there, earning the votes, not worrying about what the other candidates do. So I'm not surprised about that at all. Nikki took on Trump, I think, pretty strong. Talking about January 6th, talking about election denial in the debate tonight. So there's no question where Nikki stands. She's not playing for second place. She's playing to win this thing and bring this country together. And she's made it very clear where she stands on Donald Trump.
Well, it's not just that it gets headlines, Governor, with all due respect. He is the front runner right now in this race by pretty wide margins, depending on which numbers you're looking at. Do you not think that they should be able to say yes or no if the person who is right now beating them in this race has the character to be president again?
Well, again, I think it's a nuanced question. I really do.
No, it's not.
Focusing on earning the votes. They're not earning more votes by placating into an anti-Trump crowd per se. Nikki Haley has to talk about what she's going to deliver, build a pro-Haley crowd. Ron DeSantis is trying to do the same thing. He's trying to build that.
He's never going to be able to do that.
DeSantis crowd. So you don't do that just by tearing, the Donald Trump down 24/7. Chris tried that. God bless him. He had kind of a one state, one issue strategy. It didn't work out. I applaud him. I think Chris is a good friend. He ran hard. It just didn't work out. It's not a winning strategy, especially when you're talking to the Republican base that just wants to see how we're going to galvanize the party together, how to bring the country together. So I think they did a great job focusing on where their focus needed to be to build their base and their support to have a strong showing in Iowa. And obviously Nikki isn't just trying to have a strong showing in New Hampshire. She's on the verge of winning this state. So it's a much different issue there as well. So that's what you have to do. You have to talk about yourself, grow your own support. You don't do that just by focusing on all the other candidates.
Well, they didn't focus on him much at all. I mean, do you think that's a nuanced question to ask whether someone has the character to be president? I mean, do you think that Trump has the character to be president because you've endorsed someone else in this race?
Look, I think most of us are all going to support the Republican nominee. There's no question. Because when it comes to the general election and who's going to be president, if it were Trump out there, let's remember he's running against Biden. We all need Biden to lose. This socialism, this Bidenomics, it's all a bunch of bull.
Socialism?
It's destroying the American middle class. It's destroying the American economy. This is crushing families. That's at the end of the day what folks are going to be focused on. So I get it. I mean, I get it's where folks are, where the media wants to go with questions like that. But it's a trap that they're not necessarily going to fall into. It's a trap that isn't going to build their base. They're going to focus on themselves, and that should be expected.
One thing that Governor DeSantis brought up when he was asked about that tonight is he believes that Trump is going to be on trial. And he was talking about that being a distraction. But, Governor, there's also a chance that the former president could be a convicted felon by the time people are voting. I mean, even if he's a convicted felon, if he is the Republican nominee, does that mean you're still going to vote for him?
Look, I think right now most of America, it looks like they would vote for him because he's winning. He's busy. Biden is so bad that Trump is actually beating Biden in most polls.
But what about you,
so
Governor?
Most of America is right there. Yeah, I'm going to support the Republican nominee. Absolutely. Yeah, that shouldn't shock anybody. That shouldn't be a surprise to anybody that the Republican governor and most of America is going to end up going against Biden because they need to see a change in this country. I know, again, have the issues around the election changed the dynamics of the Republican primary? No. That's not an issue right with the Republican base right now. It's just not, and clearly not one that's holding the American public at large back because, again, Trump is up 1 point. I love Nikki Haley.
1 point?
She's up 10, 15 points on Biden. She wins Senate seats and House seats and governorships and brings all of those other opportunities to the states and the country to actually get stuff done. But, make no mistake about it. Biden is that bad of a president that even Trump would win.
You're saying he's that bad of a president that even Trump would win, even if Trump is a convicted felon?
Yes, the polls say yes. People know that. Guys, the four court cases that are out there, we'll see kind of where they are. But right now, they're
that Georgia one
into whether folks would.
The Georgia one he's going down in Georgia.
For Trump or not. I mean, I'm surprised. It can be as surprised as that as you, but that's just where it is right now. That's a fact. Look at the polls. The data is clear. And it's not just one poll. It's poll after poll after poll that shows that Trump would be kind of at least within that margin of error. It would be a nail biter to be sure. Now, some of these other candidates like Nikki, they're going to win by double digits, and that's a fundamental difference. That means you actually get stuff done.
No, Nikki Haley wouldn't beat Joe Biden by double digits. I think she has a better chance of winning, but I don't think that she wouldn't be popular vote wouldn't end up being like 55-45 or something like that if it was Nikki Haley. I don't think that would be the case.
And, you can talk about those issues as much as you want, but it's not what the American public is looking at. Maybe what the media is talking about, but not what the American voters are looking at right now.
Well, it could be in the general election, certainly. That's what even Governor DeSantis has articulated. Governor Sununu, thank you, though, for your time tonight here joining us. And back with the panel now.
So I wonder, is it possible, my question here is, if he's, let's say, my take on all of this is that the strongest case against the former president is in Georgia. It's a RICO case. No pardons, 5-year mandatory minimum. If he's convicted in Georgia before the election in November of 2024, and he's taken into custody, what happens then? I mean, I think all fucking shit's gonna break loose. Y'all better take good care of yourselves and your loved ones if that happens, because we're gonna have a real fucking problem here in this country if that happens. I'm not saying that that's a reason that if the findings of, if he's found to have broken RICO laws in Georgia, that he shouldn't be convicted. I'm just saying that that is the most chaotic possible thing, and I don't know what the fuck happens. What happens if subsequent to that, he then wins the Electoral College and he's sitting in a fucking prison cell? He can't pardon himself because it's a fucking state crime. Does the governor of Georgia pardon him? I don't think so. And in fact, under that statute, the governor of Georgia can't. And it's a mandatory minimum of 5 years. So does he just serve his term from prison? What the fuck happens then? And I think what the fuck happens then is not going to be good. I think it's going to be very bad. We can only hope that some weird shit happens and this guy loses in the primaries, but that doesn't look likely either. So, Here, the former guy also has a civil case against him. That also doesn't seem to be going so great. Here's a hit from CNN on that.
Talk to me about, the counsel that's there. Who is, do you think, you've been his attorney before, who's controlling this? Is the dog wagging the tail or the tail wagging the dog?
When it comes to this case, I think that in large respect, it's been kind of unled for a while. I know earlier on, when Ronald Fischetti was on it, he was handling it appropriately. Of course, he unfortunately passed away. But with Alina Habba handling discovery, that's not something where I think anybody was really at the wheel. And so now you get into this trial where it does seem to me to be kind of a combination of building a record for the appeal and putting out things into the media that are helpful to the campaign.
That's not how you win a trial. I think you're probably going to lose the civil case, but it's not going to matter. That dude doesn't pay his bills. He's not going to pay his bills on the civil case. He's not going to pay it. He's just going to say he doesn't have the money. He's not going to pay it. And nobody's going to care because nothing's going to happen to him. You or I don't pay parking tickets and we eventually end up in jail, but not rich people. And a sad thing happened. One of the only good anchors, actually, at all, Mehdi Hasan, resigned. And here's his message to you from the last day of his show.
On Friday, President Joe Biden, who will likely face off against Trump this November, gave a speech slamming the former president and declared democracy as the central issue of the 2024 race.
Today, we're here to answer the most important of questions. Is democracy still America's sacred cause? And it's what the 2024 election is all about. The choice is clear. Donald Trump's campaign is about him. He's willing to sacrifice our democracy.
Still, far too many Democrats don't seem to understand what's at stake. When Maine's Democratic Secretary of State removed Trump from her state's presidential primary ballot last month, she got attacked by other Democrats, including her state's independent Senator Angus King, who caucuses with the Dems. He said what a lot of centrist Democrats and independents have been saying in recent days. Quote, the decision as to whether or not Mr. Trump should again be considered for the presidency should rest with the people as expressed in free and fair elections. Sounds nice, but the fundamental problem with that argument is that the people did decide in 2020, 81 million to 74 million, and yet Trump didn't accept their decision. He tried to overturn that decision violently, and there is no reason to believe he will not do that again in November. That's why he shouldn't be on the ballot, and that's why the framers of Section 3 of the 14th Amendment came up with it in the first place, to deal with illiberal, anti-democratic threats like Trump. And yet, the same Republicans who obsess over the Second Amendment think the 14th Amendment is just optional. The same Supreme Court justices who obsess over the original intent of the framers are probably going to ignore that original intent next month and rule in favor of Donald Trump. And the same Donald Trump who incited an insurrection just 3 years ago could be either president again in a year's time or launch another insurrection. So it's safe to say America's crisis of democracy, sadly, is far from over.
And one of the only good people in the fucking mainstream media is no longer an anchor. That sucks. Mehdi Hasan, generally pretty good on stuff. And we all know why he got the axe. Asking too tough questions of people who were very, very, very supportive of the governing coalition of the nation state of Israel. We all know that's why he's not there anymore. And that's fucked up. That's his job. Up next, Missouri Secretary of State seems like an idiot. If you can imagine that.
In other words, you think that when the Supreme Court takes this up, they are going to side with President Trump. Is that correct?
They are going to side against people being thrown off the ballot in this sort of manner. The brief that I will be filing with the United States Supreme Court is not going to say that President Trump was a bad person. It's not going to say that he's a good person. What it's going to say is that this extrajudicial means of removing people from the ballot is catastrophic to our country if it's allowed to continue. Because if Democrats can do it, you know that Republicans will do it. And if Republicans will do it, then Democrats will do it more.
To that point, Secretary, in order to remove President Biden from the ballot, according to your state constitution, you would need to go to court. What do you think would be your strongest argument?
Not at all. Not at all. If
your state constitution actually states that the Secretary of State lacks authority to assess qualifications of a candidate to determine whether to place a candidate's name on a primary ballot. That's according to section 115.387 of your state constitution.
Sir, what I'm saying is, if the Supreme Court upholds the ruling out of Colorado, and what
which went to
in
court to disqualify Donald Trump from the ballot. So you, according to your state constitution, would need to go to court.
Sir, let's just be clear. First of all, you've already said you're not an attorney and you don't know what happened in Colorado. I
know what happened in Colorado, sir. What I said was that I didn't read through all of the evidence specifically to be able to qualify whether there was hearsay or not. To get back to my question, you said that you would decide to remove Joe Biden from the ballot in your state. According to your state constitution, which I just read to you from, it says you need to go to court. I'm asking you what you think your strongest argument is.
And I continue to try to answer your questions, and you continue to try to tell me stuff that just isn't true.
That's not factual, sir. You made an accusation about me not knowing something. I'm trying to clarify it for you. You can choose to answer the question or just continue deflecting. What is the strongest argument you would make in court to remove Joe Biden from the ballot? Go.
God, getting bodied by some dude nobody's ever heard of on CNN is just got to be embarrassing. The guy's like, your constitution says if you want to remove somebody from the ballot, you have to go through the courts. And he's like, you're like fabricating things. And the guy's like, I just read you the thing from the constitution. And he's like, I'm trying to answer your question. Fucking dumb fuck. And now we got a CNN contributor actually going to criticize Joe Biden for, of all things, not curing cancer.
Already. Well, I think Biden would have fared better if he actually gave credit where credit was due with Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley was the governor at that time and decided she was going to remove the Confederate flag from all state grounds. I mean, she did this. Biden didn't do it. She did it. So I think that you need to give credit where credit is due. It's one of the things that Trump could never do. He took all of the credit for anything good that happened when Congress were writing the laws. He took credit for funding the HBCUs and making sure that the HBCUs were funded permanently. The other thing I wanted to talk about, I was so happy when Biden was campaigning and talking about his son and his commitment to find a cure for cancer. And according to the CDC, compared to other races, Black and African Americans are getting and dying from all kinds of cancers. They have the highest death rate for cancer overall. I want him to keep that promise because everybody, Democrats and Republicans, would hold hands. They would be hand in hand in trying to eradicate this country and other countries of cancer.
What the fuck?
And there are people that are doing it, that are working, and I wish he would listen and really join efforts with them to eradicate. This would be equivalent to man landing on the moon if the United States was the country to eradicate cancer.
Might affect more people.
That would help Black people quite a bit.
You know, even.
What the fuck? Do you think people haven't been working on this for like ever? For like since medical science figured out what cancer, well, first of all, cancer is an umbrella term for many different diseases that share common and similar properties. But I don't understand the criticism here. Is federal funding not going toward this? I don't know what she's talking about. I mean, she's right that like various forms of cancer do hit people of color. It's primarily, I think, probably socioeconomic. We get diagnosed later; they're more likely to die. All manner of bad shit, actually. But I don't think the president can just cure cancer. I mean, I don't understand. I mean, I would never. I can't. I mean, okay. There is a situation under which I would criticize the president for not curing cancer. If they claim to have, right? If they claim, oh, I cured cancer, it's like, oh, no, you didn't. But I don't think Biden has made any such claim. And I'd be curious to see if through the executive branch has the executive branch, given funding to the extent that they can without Congress to cancer research. I think a lot of that, the federal funding has to go through Congress. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that was. That was confusing. I mean, usually I kind of understand what kind of dumb shit people are talking about, but that I'm just confused. And if anybody can explain that to me, you can go ahead and do that either in the chat live here, or if somebody can maybe comment on the podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Make sure to leave a 1-star review too. We're real proud of those. So the GOP debate was kind of what you would expect. I'm just going to play a couple short clips from it. It was all kind of dumb. There's nothing, If you noticed, we didn't watch this. We're not going to watch any of this because the main event isn't there. And if Donald Trump isn't there, there's no point in watching any of this because the front runner isn't there. So they're all just kind of, I don't even know what they're doing. Probably all trying to sell a book.
He spent more money on private planes than he has on commercials trying to get Iowans to vote for him. If you can't manage a campaign, how are you going to manage a country? Which is exactly what.
Well, listen, I'm proud that in the state of Florida, we're ranked number 1 for economy of all 50 states by CNBC, number 1 for education.
Highest cost of living.
She was ranked number 50 in education when she was governor of
Highest
California.
insurance governor.
And of course,
she wasn't governor of California. I know he just misspoke, but that's pretty funny. Up next, we got more from this so-called debate. This is Nikki Haley getting called out on just fucking saying one thing and then just saying a whole other thing. Totally unfair. Totally unfair. Why are they holding her to a thing she said not too terribly long ago? Totally unfair question. Here, check this out. Just very unfair from Brett Baer here.
So Governor DeSantis is hitting you for claiming the retirement age is, quote, way, way too low. He said, quote, I don't know why she's saying that. So are you saying that? Where do you stand?
I have never once said that.
Well, wait. In Bloomberg interview, you said anyone who says they'll leave America bankrupt, Social Security will go bankrupt, Medicare will, so we don't touch anyone's retirement. But go to people like my kids in their 20s and tell them the rules haven't changed. Change the retirement age to reflect life expectancy.
Yes.
Yes. So none of these people want to lift the cap. If people don't know what I'm talking about, when you pay taxes, the Social Security, you only pay it, I think, on the first 140K, something like that. I forget what the exact number is. But if we got rid of that cap, Social Security would be solvent at 100% of expected benefits for longer than most economists are comfortable forecasting. So they don't want to talk about that. You're not even increasing the amount that's being taken, the percentage. You're just capturing more of the income at the top with Social Security, FICO, I think it's called, FICO taxes. Nobody wants to talk about that. That's like the easy way. But whatever. These people hate Social Security, I think. Anyway, here's more. This one is, well, we'll just let it ride.
I think ballots need to be counted on Election Day, and you should get results on Election Day. But that election, Trump lost it. Biden won that election. And the idea that he's gone and carried this out forever to the point that he's going to continue to say these things to scare the American people are wrong. We've seen a lot of states come together and do more election integrity bills. We need to do more than that. We still have 3 or 4 states that I'm worried about that don't have that. But at the end of the day, I will always defend and fight for the Constitution. That's what we should do as Americans. I think what happened on January 6th was a terrible day, and I think President Trump will have to answer for it.
So just a clarification.
She just lost a bunch of voters, I think. But I mean, yeah, she right. He a crybaby. But she should have, the problem with her, she could have come out like this from the jump. And I think the only chance she has is to just start going after the former president. Try to like pretend to be a moderate. Somebody in chat mentioned this earlier. Here, this is great. Here's somebody gave Ron DeSantis a trophy. But it's a certain kind of trophy that the people on the we'll call them anti-SJW right have been making fun of for a while.
What? Nothing's going to stop us.
Real quick, before we get started, thank you, everyone. Governor DeSantis, I want to present to you this participation trophy. Now, probably not going to win the election, right? But we're proud of you for trying.
I participation trophy. Sorry, buddy.
No, but, I mean,
sorry, buddy. Sorry.
He's special, he's unique, and he's our little snowflake. Thank you. Here you go. Did you want the award? We're so happy.
Oh, that guy does so bad when people troll him too. He just looks so uncomfortable. I mean, he always looks uncomfortable, but like even more uncomfortable than he usually looks. Up next, we got House Speaker Mike Johnson versus Jake Tapper.
Jake, 7 million people have come into the country since Biden walked into the Oval Office, and that's a low estimate. Most people believe it may be twice that high. We have nearly 2 million gotaways that we know about, not to mention those who evaded capture. Over 300 known terrorists apprehended at the border trying to come in. We don't know how many evaded capture and detection. They're in the country, potentially setting up terrorist cells everywhere. Fentanyl is the #1 cause of death for Americans aged 18 to 49, flowing over the border like an open sewer. Human trafficking is the #1 business of the cartels here. Estimated, we were told today, Jake, one of the local sheriffs here, said that they believe that the cartels are making $32 million a week on trafficking human beings into the U.S. That's over $1.5 billion a year. Transnational criminal organizations, and the Biden administration seems to care nothing about it. Remember, they could issue executive orders and fix this overnight. You could reinstate the Remain in Mexico policy. You could stop the catch and release policy that the Biden administration insists upon. You could do some very important things, but they refuse to do it.
So just one note on the terrorist thing. There aren't hundreds of known terrorists getting into the country. There are people whose identity have been flagged on a certain database. I just don't want people out there thinking that 200 members of Hamas have flown into the country and we don't even know about it. It's a little bit more complicated. I'm not saying that it's not serious. I'm just saying these aren't necessarily terrorists.
That's the terrorist watch list, Jake. Right. It takes quite a bit to make that list. Okay, these are dangerous people who are coming into the country.
No, the terrorist watch list is notoriously fucked up, and you just have the same name as somebody. Now you can't fly and shit, dude. The terrorist watch list is notoriously fucked up. Incorrect. These are the same. These like the same. Like the don't trust the government unless they tell you somebody's a terrorist. It's like, well, all right. Here is Representative Jasmine Crockett, one of our queen. She's out of Texas, and she's going to talk about January 6th and the people in Congress, how their behavior now and the way they're talking about it now contrasts in some ways with their behavior while the events of January 6th were happening.
Grand juries are comprised of American citizens, and the people that have entered pleas of guilty that will be flipping on your leader in a minute, they are Republicans. I do want to point that out. And half of them were Republicans that were handpicked by Donald Trump himself. So, to be clear, whatever happens to your little leader, it's going to be because of the actions that he took. So you can talk all you want to about how January 6th was nonsense, but all of y'all were running at that time. Y'all were grabbing y'all's gas masks and y'all were running to your offices because you didn't know if they were coming to kill you. You should have cared that somebody was there to protect you, but instead you want to play games because you found out that it was your leader that decided that he wanted to propagate an insurrection on our country. So don't tell me that you care about the Constitution, because you don't. All you care about is Trump getting reelected, and I'll yield the last of my time to my leader.
Thank you very much, Ms. Crockett, for your eloquent and powerful and irrefutable remarks.
I would. Those are good descriptors for her. And notice he didn't call her eloquent. He called her remarks eloquent because it's actually kind of shitty. Call a black person eloquent. Here's Jim Acosta versus the guy from No Labels. Fuck No Labels. And I mean, mostly fuck Jim Acosta, but this is pretty good. It's not bad here.
States right now and counting.
Yeah, Joe, let me ask you this. No Labels is not required to disclose who is giving you money. How is No Labels being funded?
We're a C4. We're a nonprofit. We've been around for 14 years. It's interesting that folks are, bringing this up for questioning now after all the bipartisan work that we've done, whether it be the bipartisan infrastructure bill.
Well,
or
it's
the
a valid
CHIPS Act.
question. You're more than just a nonprofit if you're going to put a ticket out there with the potential of throwing a monkey wrench into the race, right?
Can I finish? Unity 08 versus FEC gives us a constitutional right to access the ballot. Before then, only billionaires could run as an independent or a third party. As a nonprofit, we have a right to access that ballot. And that Supreme Court case, by the way, is underpinned by Alabama versus the NAACP. When Alabama was trying to get the NAACP to divulge its roles to attack them.
But Joe,
and that's exactly what's going on.
No Label sounds like no transparency. If Donald Trump and Joe Biden have to disclose who their donors are, why not No Labels?
Jim, we're not running a campaign yet.
But okay, let's say when you put together a ticket, would you pledge? When you put a ticket out there, do you pledge to disclose who those donors are?
Look, the ticket will have to abide by the rules of FEC. The super PAC will as well. We don't have a ticket. We're not advocating for a particular candidate. We're abiding by the rule of the law all the while people are attacking us. And I really haven't seen much coverage of that.
I don't like this C4 shit. This 501c4 shit. I'm okay with it. Like for maybe like if your 501c4 is like feeding the poor or whatever, but if you're engaged in political activity, and I mean feeding the poor is political activity, but I mean like in partisan politics, let's say, or helping propose legislation. Yeah, you got to open your books. I mean, I know that's not how the law is, but I don't like this. These are good questions because if they're thinking about fielding a ticket, which it's probably too late in the game to do, but if they were thinking about doing it, then like they're going to be using the resources that they've gathered while they're a 501c4 that does not have to disclose to vet and field the ticket. And I think if that's going on, people should probably have a right to know. Yeah, it's a good point. Irate Lump in the chat just said if you're feeding the poor, you're probably just a C3 because the people that are feeding the poor don't mind actually their names being on things. They're like, look, I donated to this charity. All right, now we're into some religious batshittery. This is the Elijah's List show. We first found the Elijah's List show because Kat Kerr was going on there talking about stomping on the ground to make the flood water go down, and instead of like evacuating when the hurricane was coming. But this is about the anointing of Twitter.
I have a personal friend who, when Elon Musk bought Twitter, he was allowed to go into Twitter, now X, and anoint every one of the rooms. He actually poured oil and met with some of the leading people in that industry, and was able to prophesy. And the very place that Elon Musk made the announcement that he had bought Twitter, my friend actually poured oil in that place and prophesied. So there are things that are going on behind the scenes that are happening that that we can't even talk about publicly. Yeah. But we need to begin to pray for these people. We need to begin to understand what God is doing.
What on earth? So somebody went in and anointed the Twitter HQ and was like putting, do they mean like, is there like some kind of blessed oil? Or does he mean there's like fucking 10W40? Just throwing motor oil all over the place. Who fucking knows? Now here's Julie Green, Trump's former spiritual advisor or whatever. And she has another message from God himself, actually.
It's time to drain the swamp, you would say. Every dirty secret, every traitor, every treasonous act is about to come out for the world to see. Because as you move forward this year, their desperation is growing and all bets are off. They will stop at nothing to stop this nation from rising and to regain its power. Again, the silent war that has been going on soon will be silent no more. So get ready for great changes to take place soon. Very soon, the return of your rightful president will soon be seen. But also the return of blessing into my nation. A return of freedom. A return of justice. A return of prosperity. A return of liberty. Yes, a great return in 2024, saith the Lord, your Redeemer.
All right. That was a message from God, everybody. That rightful President Donald Trump will be reinstated or whatever. Things aren't going great. Speaking of not great, seems like Tulsi Gabbard is talking again. I thought she had shut the fuck up. When I saw this, I was like, wait a minute. Didn't she just start shutting the fuck up? Well, here is her talking about launching a show on Twitter. Some people call X.
Free speech is something that a lot of us have taken for granted throughout our lives. It is fundamental to our rights that we have as Americans. Unfortunately, we live in a time where free speech is under attack. Lifting up your voice in dissent or challenge or questioning or even having a dialogue and debate is not only discouraged, it can be cause for retaliation or cancellation or censorship. We must defend our right to free speech by using it. I'm excited to announce today a partnership with X, a platform that under the leadership of Elon Musk not only defends free speech, it is celebrated and encouraged. So I'm looking forward to launching some new projects with them where I'll tell the stories and tell the truth about what's happening here in our country and around the world, the truth that most often those in power don't want us to hear. I'll also be sharing a series of short films that lift up the voices of those who are most negatively impacted by the decisions of those in power, but whose voices aren't being heard. See you soon.
Okay. Nobody's going to watch this show, but it's pretty well known that X pumps like video views. They'll basically lie. So if like I scroll past her video, but it auto plays, and even with the sound off, that counts as a view. So just so everybody knows that when you see video views on Twitter /X, they're not so accurate. Anyway, here is Elijah Schaffer, one of the world's biggest pieces of shit, talking about race relations and public safety. This is going to be great. Fantastic.
Well, I'm really excited to talk to you guys today about my favorite group of people. I ended up having to get a colonoscopy, and it was a very invasive surgery. And luckily, while there was a huge backup of state-funded medicine inside of Australia, they did remind us that we are letting in 2.2% of the entire population every single year because we need more lawyers and doctors. So I actually ran into my doctor on the street. I don't know if you guys could see this video. And he was already prepared with his instruments out, ready to
what the fuck?
The invasive technique. And here's how our interaction looked.
What the fuck?
Very normal, very normal. These are our doctors. These are our lawyers, our presidents of Harvard. They are a master race. They built the pyramids. They also built the space shuttle. You thought we didn't go to the moon? Well, I bet you guessed it. They helped us go to the moon too. We're talking about black people today. And while people could accuse me of racism and say, Elijah, are you racist?
I would say that's a pretty easy so far.
Do not compliment me. I am not fully there yet. But I do see some serious issues going on in our country of denial. Not only is it a river in Egypt, but it's the number one platform of our politicians as crime continues to rise. And what do we blame on the left? We blame racism. What do we blame on the right? We blame Democrats. But I've been to Vermont, and Vermont is a Democrat state, and it's quite beautiful. It's clean. It's wonderful people, but it's 95% Caucasian. Maybe, just maybe, there's another problem on our hands. And that's why we're going to be talking about the rising crime rate in the country, as well as the impact it's going to have on the future of Western civilization.
Crime rate in Delaware is low because it's socioeconomics. Pretty rich place, and not a lot of big cities. Big cities do like increase crime because you're going to have more conflict, like per person. Although big cities have basically never been safer. People are tripping out. I would like to introduce people to the years 1987 through 1994 in any major American city. They should check the crime rate out there. Oh, and we also have some information from the chat that Vermont's homicide rate is higher than Los Angeles and New York. Stunning. And that Burlington is 4 times or 3.5 times that of other major cities. That's interesting. Wonder if he didn't know that. Wonder if what he meant was, I just saw white people, so I assume there's no crime. Thanks, chat. That's why podcast listeners, you should be tuning in live. The chat sometimes has better analysis than I do, but only sometimes. Our next clip is from the Lex Fridman show. I guarantee you will not see this in long form on the Intellectual Dollar Tree. I cannot possibly sit through any more Lex Fridman, I don't think, and certainly not Lex Fridman talking with Jared Kushner.
I just think it's something where if you want to accomplish something, you know, a lot of people I hear, they complain about what other people do or why it's hard or why it's impossible. And again, I say this as somebody who's been so blessed with so many things in life, but
he like sort of reminds me of the Krasenstein brothers.
You know, when I've had challenges or things I've wanted to achieve, I just focus and say, what can I do? And I'll read everything I can get my hands on. If I fail at one, the door closes, I'll try the window. If the window closes, I'll try the chimney. If the chimney closes, I'll try to dig a tunnel. It's just, if you want to accomplish something, you just have to go at it.
It helps when your family is rich as fuck. That's for sure. He's like, oh, it was just me. I just, every time I fell down, there was just fucking somebody to pick me up. And by that, I mean my family. And that's totally fine, by the way. That's what your family should do if they have the means. There's no problem there. It's just like, don't pretend you're fucking self-made when you weren't. One last one. Fellas, is it gay? Is it gay to plan ahead for Valentine's Day? Matt Walsh asking the tough questions.
But of course, 97% of us are buying the Valentine's Day gift on the way home from work on February 14th.
Oh, can't wait till his wife leaves him.
But buying a Valentine's Day gift for your wife a month early is the gayest thing you could do.
Well, but what if you just see something a month before Valentine's Day and you're like, you know what? My fucking wife would love this. Shouldn't you right away? Give it to her Valentine's Day. I'm going to win Valentine's Day this year.
Do that, because if it's January 3rd and you tell your wife, I got you Valentine's Day gift already, she's going to say, so you're gay. Well, that kind of ruins Valentine's Day, doesn't it?
Fellas, is it gay to think about your wife when you're out shopping or going about your business? Is it gay to be like, oh my God, Susan would love that. I gotta, Valentine's Day is in a month. No, this is great. This is great. It's called planning ahead. It's one of those things. Aren't these fucking conservatives being like, you should think ahead and be more responsible and not procrastinate and put shit off? Apparently they mean that, except for when we're talking about buying a gift. Was it also gay that I bought all my Christmas gifts for everybody in November, or is that different because it's not Valentine's Day? And what about people like me? I am gay, and I don't think I'm gonna have to buy anybody anything for Valentine's Day. You don't really buy things for Valentine's Day for people you're just hooking up with on Grindr. So I don't know how all this works. I don't know. We'll have to ask a gay in a relationship how early they buy their Valentine's Day gift. Anyway, I guess that's the end of the show. Podcast listeners, thanks for checking the podcast out. Make sure you're following us on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. If you would like the rest of the show, the post game, you can get that patreon.com/Echoplex, $5 level or higher, or at any level at eplex.store with our monthly subscription. And if you do it via eplex.store, you also get automatic discounts on anything you buy from our shop. I recommend the tinfoil hat, but there's also some really good new shit in there. Anyway, this is Boomers by Periscope. Change the color of the lights, change the content of my drink, and we'll be back with Red Light.